Picture this. Right at the start of your career journey, you manage to land a role at Apple. The project that you're working on gets canceled by Apple. What do? Join another team? Look for stability elsewhere in the industry? Or option C, you take the learnings, you identify a problem statement that is not apparent to Apple, and launch your own startup. You back yourself with a seed round through investors, raise Series A, raise Series B, scale this corporation, build real value, and sell this to Uber. Wouldn't that be a fairy tale of a story? It is a true journey of our next founder, next guest, former CEO of SafeAI. I want to get into the details of how did he identify a problem? How did he build a business? How did he raise money? What did he learn along the way? What insights and lessons can we pick up from that? It's a exciting conversation that I'm looking forward to having with Bibhrajit. My name is Ali Afzal. This is Robot Builders Club. Let's get into the worlds of autonomy, driverless mining equipment, building businesses, launching robots, and having fun along the way. Let's dive in. Mr. Bibhrajit, welcome to Robot Builders Club. What a pleasure and a treat to have you here today.
Thank you, Ali. And I saw some of your earlier podcasts. You're doing a great job. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching. You're one of the few people that is paying attention, so I appreciate that. First of all, congratulations. Your autonomous heavy equipment company, SafeAI, got acquired by Pronto. And Pronto, I saw in the news recently announced that it's getting acquired by Uber CEO Travis. His company is getting into robotics. I guess everybody's getting into physical AI. So he's got atoms mining, I believe, that it's going to be part of that. I want to get into that, but I want to congratulate you. That's a huge milestone. How are you feeling about that?
It's good, but I think for the autonomy, we are still keep going. I think if you see whether it is Waymo, whether it is Tesla, whether it is our vertical, which is we talk about mining construction, we have been working on the back for last 15 years. This is the time to reap the benefit. No, we are excited. I think we'll talk about what I'm doing next, but this is a absolutely great timing for what we do.
Yeah, so let's build up to that. Let's not give all of it away to the viewers. I want to take everybody on a journey, and more than that, I want to be on that journey to unpack what have you learned. Let's do a little bit of a reflection. You started with the likes of Apple, Faraday Future. You were at Caterpillar, Ford. You went through that. You built software autonomy in those spaces that are putting hardware out, that are creating physical AI for the world before you saw the opportunity to launch SafeAI. So maybe walk us through that process. What was your goal earlier on? What was your motivation? And why did you want to go on this entrepreneurial journey, want to understand that arc?
Yeah. So with that arc, let me give you a little bit of the arc of autonomy itself. I know this is kind of bigger than that, but I think a lot of people don't know autonomy kind of started what we call self-driving, and obviously everybody takes Waymo in San Francisco now. I think it started back in 90s. It has nothing to do with Waymo. It was back in 90s, and it started by the defense. Like many other technology, obviously internet, GPS, you think about these are this core technology, they get started by defense. So defense was doing it back in 90s.
Is that
And
the DARPA challenge?
even before DARPA was like any other bigger technology, internet and GPS. The reason you have GPS in your car or in your everywhere because defense decided, can the commercial world use it? So that is the point. Obviously, they do an amazing job around 2002, 2003. They were like, can we give it to the regular, like a commercial use? And DARPA Grand Challenge, I would say the biggest investment return in the history of return, right? That $3 million investment, now we probably as an industry spend over $150 billion and we have this beautiful industry. So I just want to give you that. I know that history, a lot of people don't know, doesn't appreciate. And that 3 million kind of sparked the moment. What you said, the DARPA Grand Challenge, that sparked the moment. And that's like, I was in grad school, I got lucky, I got pulled into it. And so I was, obviously I was doing my research work. It's an amazing opportunity as a new grad student to do that. And so I got sucked into autonomy by that kind of DARPA thing, right? During that time. Then when I finished my PhD on autonomy, actually, the heavy industry, mining, construction picked it up before the passenger. And the reason is very obvious. Heavy industry like mining, construction, think about it, they run big machine, $5 million, $6 million machine, running 24/7 in middle of nowhere, constrained environment. Autonomy is just obvious. So I joined Caterpillar, worked for that almost 7 years. This is really where I learned how to take a complex technology, actually deploy. And I'll give you one more statistic. There is about in the mining industry today, they went autonomy in production 2030. This is not today's thing.
Wow.
And they have been running almost close to 4,000 truck by now. They've been running for last 10 years. They move close to 15 billion tons of material 24/7, fully autonomous, no remote control, no human operator, not a single fatal accident. So I think this industry is extremely, extremely mature when it comes to actually deploying autonomy. But obviously, they started back in the days. Then I moved to the automotive industry. As you said, I was at Ford, I was at Apple. I kind of see that automotive industry took the autonomy to a different level. That is where the Waymo come in, Tesla come in. The automotive industry took the technology to a different level. I kind of say that it's autonomy 2.0. And I was at Apple and I was sitting there as like, why nobody is taking the technology back into the industry who can actually go to production, who is actually running in production 2016, 2017, but they are running with the older technology. So not so much about entrepreneurial journey or I wanted to start a company. I was always been in a big company. If you think about Caterpillar, Ford, Apple, these are the biggest name in that vertical, right? So it's more like I see that I am pretty much the only one who understand mining construction, who are also understand autonomy 2.0, and I have the desire to do it. So that's really kind of my point to get. Like I left Apple and started SafeAI, and it's an amazing. I mean, I think the vision we have, we'll talk about that, but that's really the backstory.
Got it. And in that early day, um, why did you think about going into the Uber side of things, Waymo side of things, like the consumer side of things?
I come from the mining construction world, right? We spend about $100 billion a year just to move material. I have 4 out of 10 people been hired in that industry. So that's a massive
Got it.
industry. I think we obviously when you are in San Francisco, in Silicon Valley, you probably always don't see that robotics is
Yeah.
on your face, but that industry is massive. I can put it in a number format like your automotive is about $7 trillion market, trucking is about $3 trillion market, heavy industry is a trillion and a half. So it's not small by any. It just regular people don't know every day. You don't think about mining construction.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. So the opportunity was there, the vertical, just you had the expertise in that space, so that you grew into that. Is that Safe AI was operating? Just curious. We'll get into that, but I'm seeing Bedrock Robotics growing in a huge way. Were you operating in the same space?
I think now when you go into mining, go into construction, like when you go into deep into that, like any other industry, then there's a slice and dice. Like what kind of mine, what kind of construction? Are you doing big construction? Are you what machine of construction? Then basically, like the Waymo, think about Waymo. Where do I start? Do I start in San Francisco? Do I in California? Do I do in Arizona? Maybe. So I think answer is from the regular audience. Yes, we are all in the heavy industry, but
Yeah.
obviously within that like Fair was working more into mining. Obviously, we are also doing construction. Bedrock is focusing on construction first. But if they are successful, they do well, they will go to mining. But obviously, we are quick, the way Waymo started San Francisco first. They could have started anywhere.
Got it. And let's get into, you've been on that arc. I think you're that 1% of founder that has scaled a company and has actually gotten it to a point where it gets acquired. You've been through all of that. So I want to pull on that whole thread. Looking back, if you were to start Safe AI today, you're at day zero with everything that you have learned. What would you do differently in the first 6 months?
A lot of things. I have a note of almost like 400 pages note. Literally, I have
Wow.
written down. So it is not a one line answer. And
Yeah.
there is never a one line answer, right? Let me start with the different statistics. Over last 35 years, the number of company went IPO year over year is very consistent,
Okay.
right? So in US alone, how many company went IPO? I'm not quoting the number, not to get wrong, but they are very consistent. What is that mean is that, but our investment into startup, number of founder increase almost, more than linear. It's a, increase significantly. So our input is increasing, but our output is not increasing. If for 35 years, our output is constant, but input is increasing significantly, then as a founder, for you to think about, or anybody is like, what is world need? I can do it, but if nobody needs it, and I can see that the world doesn't need too many ideas every year. So I think that's kind of probably extremely high level answer. And I think the ground level answer, what I'm doing and what I think, like, you want to focus on the revenue. Like, I think unless you are solving a big problem, like, biotech or something that it takes a long term arc.
Product cycle is huge.
You wanna go to Mars. That's a different. Like, unless you're doing things that absolutely take a longer arc, gonna think about revenue on day one. Because if you focus on revenue from day one, your company will be fine.
No, that makes sense. That's a great answer actually, because if you're a founder, you're trying to understand where you want to grow, try to figure out a problem that actually has an impact on the world today, and more than that, that you can get paid for. You can extract value for yourself so that you can sustain your operations, your business, you can grow. Okay, let me ask it in a different way. For SafeAI, what assumption did you have about your customer early on that you got wrong, or what was the beginning? What did you get wrong about your customer and your business?
I would not say what I get wrong. What I would say, see, like, think about Waymo, think about Tesla, think about
Yeah.
anybody. It took longer than what we all wanted, right? And I'm not talking about the reporters. I'm not talking about the outsider. Inside our kitchen also, right? We wanted to do it faster. We wanted to deliver faster. We means all of us, whether it
Yeah.
is Tesla, whether it is Waymo, whether it is Zeus. I think one of the, I would not say we got it wrong, but I'm saying it took longer for all of us.
I've been seeing Waymo since early 2000s, driving on 101. And in the back of my mind, I'm not in the same industry, but I was saying, why hasn't that been productized? Why is it taking so long? But it's a complicated problem to solve, and that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the reason is really very simple reason. It is just a hard problem. So
Mm.
you're trying to put yourself into a system that has been running for 100 years with the absolute cutting edge AI and software, absolute cutting edge hardware. It's not easy. And you have safety on top of you, looming over you. You cannot do a wrong step on safety. And you saw the cruise news, right? I mean, one of the thing cruise took cruise out of the way is that accident, last one, right?
Yeah.
So you have that looming thing on you all the time. Doesn't matter your name is Waymo, SafeAI, Cruise. You do a major safety fault. Not only just you are out, you're pretty much, you don't want to do that. So I think that it's just a hard engineering problem. I
Mm.
don't think it's anybody's wrong assumption or wrong take. It's just a hard engineering problem.
Yeah. That makes total sense. The real world chaotic environment, it's dealing with that. It's easier to build robots in a warehouse setting, or where things are laid out, where your guardrails are defined. But autonomy has been a different problem to solve altogether, and we're getting there. Let me ask you, reflect back on the time that you had at these major companies, Apple, let's say, and Caterpillar. How did that shape your approach to the business world, to actually product development? How did that groom you or build you up for Safe AI?
Yeah, I think couple of things. Obviously, I learned a lot. So that's the number one thing, right? Whether it is Caterpillar, whether it is Apple, whether it is even Ford, I learned a lot. And another just happened to be the fact. I don't know, like, both Caterpillar and Apple team almost had over 1,000 people, right? They have just a team itself doing autonomy over 1,000 people, a little bit of peripheral team. They are literally, Caterpillar and Apple are the biggest name in that vertical, right? What they do, they are the biggest name. They are the king of that world. And they also have the massive infrastructure around it, right?
Hmm.
All the thing you need, the testing facility, the cloud facility, this. So I was exposed to the scale and the breadth of this company can bring, and also the amount of research and innovation they have been doing. So I learned a lot. So one thing when you do is, come from the big company and you go, try to do your, you have a very intimate understanding that what it takes to do it. How do you squeeze the problem down to a smaller set of problem
Yeah.
that, when you say, did you do mining, did you do construction? Yes, we could do all, but you possibly couldn't do all. Cat can do it, Apple can do it. So I think that's one big learning, right? In a sense of the vast of the scale goes through that. And the second thing is that I think the difference between the Caterpillar, Apple, and doing, say, I was mostly a delivering the best technology I can do, and that was kind of my focus, right? I was not counting the dollars and cents. Like Caterpillar, I was not saying that okay, how many trucks do I need to sell by what so that I can make my money? Why my R&D budget is coming? Who is paying for it? And who is going to be my customer? So same with Apple. I was not thinking about when is Apple car going to be in the road. I was thinking what is the best technology? What we need to do in 6 months. I think SafeAI that changes instantly. Okay, where is the money going to come from? So I think that probably a big change in a way. But the learning from Apple and Caterpillars of the world is that really that amount of rigorousness to go, the technology, the innovation, the vastness of it, all that was. And I say to a lot of people, I mean, if you haven't been in a big company, please very worth being in a big company for a good amount of time, whatever good amount for you.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also, working with a large corporation, you have to work with different personalities. There's different functions that you have to collaborate with and get work out of that. It's definitely a different mode of operating. Can you talk about bring it down to a decision you made because of Apple at Safe AI that you wouldn't have made otherwise?
I mean, I'll tell you a simple one. I obviously Apple Card project is in a couple of years ago they shut it down, so it's not
Yeah.
that secret anymore. Like they had a huge simulation team in house. Like before even I left Apple, I was like, I'm never gonna build a simulation team in house because we will not have that thing, right? So
Okay.
so the idea that this build versus buy idea, right? So I
Mm.
think looking at that, okay, if I do this in house, what is the effort it's required? Like I looked at the Apple simulation team. I mean, that is obvious choice. So I think that also shaped kind of some of this idea. And that becomes critical when you have a limited resource, but you're biting on a big problem. Which one you don't do is also super important. Which problem is to worth biting? Also, like very limited ODD. I mean, the reason to go to mining is that mining is very constrained environment. So you can actually go into production. You actually can run this thing and maybe go to even a mining where it's a bigger mine. Even within mine, there is a slice and dice. Not all mines are same. Lot complexity of not like the difference between running in a highway to Texas versus running in San Francisco. Same way, there are mine that is running in Texas, just highway versus running in. So even to slice and dice. So that's one of the thing shaped working on a Apple and obviously Caterpillar also that same way. But that was one of the example I can give you.
That makes total sense, especially for founders. To your earlier point, you have limited resources. You're trying to iteratively build on your solution, your product, your company. What order you build your company at, that makes total sense because you don't have the scale of a large company. So buy versus build. No, great advice on that. Let's get more detailed into building in the physical AI and the autonomy world. There's more software founders out there. And now there's a huge focus on let's put physical AI out. Let's extend the large language model, the intelligence that's there, get that into the physical world, whether that's through home robotics or in industrial settings or on the road, delivery, all of these different verticals. What would you say? You've been on the software side, you've worked at all of these companies, and you understand the software world intimately, and then you've now built in the physical AI autonomy world. What would you say the new founders that are coming from the software world fundamentally misunderstand about building in the physical world?
Yeah. So let me kind of set the stage up with what is a physical AI and broadly, right? So think about, I mean, the way I give you examples, think about what does human do? Like with AI, we are really trying to do the thing that human do. So
Hmm.
for example, right now we are talking, we are writing, we are producing financial report. That is all digital work, right?
Right.
That's the digital AI. That's the digital work. That's your chat GPT doing it, your agent doing it, all that, right? That's the one era. Another thing we do, we actually work with our hands, right? We move things, we push things, we make our coffee, we make our bed, we carry rocks, we build things. So that's really physical world, right? And if you look at broadly, there is about 110 trillion global GDP. Probably now it's 115 or so. Let's say 110 trillion global GDP. If you divide what a global GDP is, the amount of work we produce, and all the work we produce, either we are talking, writing reports, or we are pushing things. So either it's a digital work or it's a physical work. So if you look at from that lens, so I have my amazing, beautiful, powerful AI. That is the core AI. As think about as engine, and I can throw that engine to do the digital work, write a report and all that. And I can throw that into physical world. But for me to throw the physical world, I need to take the brain put it into a body, because we work with our hands. We have a body. So you put it into a body, and that body is going to do the work. Like, think about that way. Now, if you think that aspect, so I need to build the body, right? That's what really physical AI is. That I have the brain. Now, obviously, brain need to learn about how to push and all. That's a different knowledge versus how to write a report. We'll come to that. But in the body wise, you have two options. You can build the body from grounds up, which is what all the humanoid robot guys are doing. From your Optimus to Figure AI to all of them, they're building the whole body from grounds up. Or you can say there is a lot of bodies already exist. One of the body is a car. One of the body is a the machine that you have in the manufacturing facility. One of the body is the bodies we already use. So you can take that. You can say, I can partner with one of the company that build the body. Think about a car company, and I can build the brain and put it together.
Right.
Or I can do Optimus, I can do Figure AI, where I'm going to build the whole body, whole brain. So you could, as a founder, you can see, you can still do software. You partner with a hardware player, right? And you decide which hardware partner are you going to partnering with the car company. That means body is already built. But even if the body that is already there, a regular car is not ready for physical AI, so you need to modify the body, right? So a body plus modification, then your AI comes. So that is the thing. I think the learning for will be for people who come from the pure software background. The moment you put physics into it, things get slower. And I think there's they're saying, like, I can create a chat GPT, but my delivery mechanism is instantly internet. I'm not waiting for how to get to in front of a billion people. But even if you have a robot, even if you have a body ready to go working perfectly, it cannot instantly distribute to a billion people. The physics will slow you down. You cannot possibly distribution of a physical goods are, like physics limited, if that was. So I think that is a lot of times software founder don't understand that here there is a physics coming in the between. That physics they didn't encounter while they were doing the software.
A great explanation. I liked how you laid out the reality basically of software-based businesses and how hardware comes into the mix. And the other side, which you didn't touch upon, is once you're building, when you decide to build hardware, the supply chain constraints,
That's right.
the material selection, and actually scaling something that may work in a pilot setting in your limited lab setting where you're 3D printing, but now you want to scale it at cost uh, for a large number of units. Yeah, that makes total sense on that piece. Taking something from pilot to scale, something that's working prototype, and then something that in your world that a mining company will trust with millions of dollars. What was your experience in going from prototyping something and then getting it to that scale?
Yeah. Let me answer it. Let me deviate a little bit, then I'll come to that, because there is this one article just to kind of, because this pilot thing, there was a MIT article about that 95% of all AI, prototype or pilot fail. And I think it's a right article. I don't know if you see a lot of people, beat on AI because of that. I think one of the definition of pilot is supposed to fail. So I think people, when they're dunking on pilot that you can't go from prototype to production, not every product has to go to production. That's the definition of prototype, right? I think a lot of people don't realize that. They realize, but when they do themselves, they realize, but they don't realize when they talk in the grandeur term. Like, one of my thing is that I don't need, when you are building plane and whatnot, I don't need everybody to successful. One Wright brother was good enough for the whole humanity. So I think that people need to understand that not every product has to be successful. Yes, some people will lose money, but that is exactly what R&D dollar means. I'm not saying you should design that way, but it's not like prototype doesn't go to production. Yeah, that is the definition of it. Answer to your question, I think that really the point is that if you come from the back, like if you integrate all the stakeholder, like what we do, obviously we come from the mining very deep down. You bring the customer with you, and customer doesn't mean just the stakeholder. Customer is writing the check, writing the contract, but the people who are actually working on in the site. So they are very important. They come on the design decision from day one. We did that. Operator, we did that even at Caterpillar. The Caterpillar, and these are not super confidential, but it's obviously a long time. Caterpillar design partner was BHP, and BHP is the number one mining company. So BHP is basically Apple of mining. They are literally the number one mining company in the world. Billions of dollars of value. Caterpillar and BHP work together and very intimately. So you need a design partner who is gonna put all their stakeholders. So you put the operator, actual people running the mine, into the design discussion from day one. Then they become involved. But you also do other side. You take your engineer who doesn't know what mining is, throw them into mines, leave them for weeks and weeks. I lived in so many mines, so many. So you do this cross thing and you do it from day one. The software will understand, the guys who are sitting writing code, how hard it is this is, and the mining guys will also understand the software complexity. While they can also input, no, don't sweat your 3 months doing this. We don't actually care about that. Solve my this problem. And they're like, oh, that's just a one line change. They're like, I don't know what line change, but this is what I need to solve. This is what, get my half an hour delay every morning. So I think having the conversation, and Cat did a fantastic job. And I was there, it's not just a SafeAI. I mean, Cat has delivered on a promise. I mean, they have run 2,000 trucks, as I say, last 15 years, move 8 billion tons of material, and they are scaling. So it's not just a safe AI. We have seen successful of that. And the recipe is that when you're doing such a big complex project, you need to bring the stakeholder and bring them from day one. And the second idea would say that from day one, you have to have the philosophy or mindset in your thing is that technology is not everything. When you're trying to do such a physical deployment, technology is really 10%. If you set the mindset from day one, then you don't celebrate the moment your code compiled and it pushed it and doing something and everybody is clapping. That is just 10%. Like if you have the mindset, then everybody in the team know that, okay, now it is working. Let's gear up for the 90% that is coming on the way. And that is exactly, again, I'll give you a Caterpillar example. We were done with the code and everything by 2011. And this is, we're talking about 1,000 people. We're not talking about a small team. And we had a design partner. That's the number one. We went to production in 2014, like our truck running fully production. It took us 3 years of almost 2,000 people, absolute focus to get that to this to that. So it just takes that much of engineering focus where everybody is dedicated and working on it. What I'm finding beautiful is a lot of people say that understand the problem deeply, right? It's a common understanding that if you want to build something, understand the pain point of the customer, live in their shoes, walk in their shoes, that kind of thing. What you're talking about with SafeAI, that you had people at the mining operations site, even software engineers are there. You moved the company out of Silicon Valley into the mining place? Maybe move the whole thing, but have those, and I lived there, right? Have the developer be in a mine, write the code, see the thing, what happened, see how the works. And it's a both way. Also, these people come in here, then also like put input. And it's not SafeAI, as I said, it's not only SafeAI. We did it in Caterpillar, we did it like every successful big endeavor we have done, we have seen this, we have done that. So this is not a SafeAI story. This is how do you do it successfully, big project like that, where you are actually impacting the physical world. Got it. Which makes sense how you're able to scale, how you're able to create something that generated value in 8 years or so. So that makes a lot of sense how you stuck to the fundamentals of understanding a problem, building something that supports that problem that the customer has on real world. I want to pull a little bit on learn from your experience, get people to understand how you scaled SafeAI. So when you were adding headcount, when you were in building your company, they say that rule of 1 to 10 things break down completely. If 10 to 100, your company operations have to completely shift. Did you see that when you moved to 100 people? What broke down organizationally? What did you have to do differently? Want to understand that. Yeah. So this was my first company. So I think that answer is yes, but I probably have things are probably breaking constantly. So it's not just a very clean cut. It was constantly breaking, constantly fixing, constantly doing wrong thing and trying to fix it up. So I think when you do the first time, you don't know a lot of things that what gonna happen. Sometimes you get lucky, things completely doesn't break down. I think the rule is that as long as the way says, there is a book called Hard Thing About Hard Thing. I guess everybody read in Silicon Valley. One thing I like about that, let it burn. What does that mean is that if you see some fire going on in the side, don't try to put off all the fire. Only worry about the fire that's going to bring the whole house down. So yeah, things will break, things will not work. But as long as it's not burning the whole house down, But to specifically to your question, I think the thing that really breaks down is the communication, right? Communication, because 10 people working in the room, just looking around each other is like, what are you doing? Like, we don't need a
Yeah.
1,000 meeting. Everybody
You're
knows.
in,
And
you're in
also,
lockstep when you're a smaller team. Yeah.
also the focus is very much there. There is nobody questioning for 6 months what you're doing. You just make sure you don't shut down tomorrow. Like that's what you're doing, right? Like make sure your seed check comes in, make sure the first product you're doing is compiling. So there is no question about what is the focus. There is no PM is needed. Like 10 people just know what you're doing, and
Yeah.
if it doesn't work, you're just gonna close the door and go back to the job you were there before. Hopefully they will take you back. Like if you came from Apple, Google, hopefully they'll take you back. I think as you grow, the communication breaks. Now the people came in, they don't know the core thesis, they don't know that. So you need to constantly communicate. They also now they are 100 people are not looking at the same way that 10 people was looking at it, and they also don't get the information. Now you are doing 5 projects. You are kind of split. You have to do all that thing. So I think the communication, I would say, number one that breaks down. I think another thing probably a lot of people don't manage well is the cost. Like you get complacent at first. When you have the first check, you spend the money and every dollar matters. But as you
Mhm.
grow, you kind of become complacent, and more successful you become, more complacent you become. That's just a very Silicon Valley thing
Yeah.
also. And I think there is this, I think I saw a podcast by Andreessen Horowitz Andreessen, and he was saying is that he knows a company going to fall when he sees one of his successful company get a big shiny building. He was like, when I see that shiny
Right.
building, and I was like, oh, not again. I'm just kidding. That was his joke.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
that is another thing. The cost part, you have to be careful. So, I mean, there are, again, I can go on and on, but I think the communication and cost probably are the two most critical things.
And around communication, was that the piece you would say you hired a little bit too late? What role would you say that looking back you go, oh man, I should have brought this function or this type of role earlier in the evolution?
It's actually always other way around. You wanna be you usually hire startup hire more than they always need. It's especially the good ones, especially the successful one. They end up hiring lot more than they need. Like I mean, unless you are really lacking engineers, you really not start by because you don't have enough people. You actually always start by you have too much. And this is not just SafeAI, this is not just me talking. I mean, I have talked to
Yeah.
obviously a lot of my friends are founder and they run even bigger company, 1,000 people, 2,000 people. I
Yeah.
think you don't start by not having enough people. Not having enough people is a good thing because you kind of get extra ounce out of the company by not putting the effort. At the end of the day, you are producing something and you have a cost. Whatever you are producing, if it is more valued than your cost, you have a business. Hiring more, I didn't have the role, that's why I couldn't do it. Is probably like that's not the. I haven't had that in a real world. Real world, it's always I overhire. I didn't need that guy. That guy wasted my money. It wasted my 6 months. It was more of the negative than the positive.
That's surprising to me. The places that I have been, it's always been we're constrained, we're being slowed down. It's a conscious decision that we're gonna we just don't have the right talent yet. I've seen that quite a bit.
No, no, right talent maybe, but I'm saying that not number of bodies. Like obviously now, I mean, now you got so many examples, right? You got Tesla, you got Twitter is a famous example. 80% cut down in a company is still running
Yeah.
fine. So you have this famous example, known example, but I have a plenty of not Twitter level example where I know the founder, I know the CEO, but basically Twitter story, but not a Twitter like company, not famous, but very similar stories.
So for Safe AI, you had the philosophy, let's hire more upfront, let's have more horsepower than is that might be needed. Better to have more than less.
I mean, total we raised about $70 million. We are very cash frugal. We spend, we are not. So we actually very tight all along. Like we are always like a short of engineer. That team, everybody will always complain. I need 5 more people. So we are kind of always on a constraint,
Yeah.
constant constraint. Yes, we grow the team, but also we grow the project. But we are always on a constant constraint. And I think that's probably a little bit of constraint is good because if you think I can get 2 more people, get this job done if you don't have that function at all, that's different. But
Mm.
I need 2 more people. I could move faster. You can probably still move faster.
Got it. And let's talk about with SafeAI, the actual deployment, go to market, the sales cycle, want to understand that side of things. How long does it take to go from the first conversation that you're having with a mining customer to actually deploying, closing that deal, that check?
Yeah. So I think the first thing about mining, and I think this is true even for automotive and other verticals, these are very closed ecosystem, right? It's a very closed ecosystem. In mining construction, everybody knows everybody. So relation is really that you are building a relation, because this is a extremely close knit, relation, and everybody knows everybody. Like literally, we would know. Doesn't matter what country you are. Even if you're running a mine in Africa, in 3 order, I will know somebody there, right? So it's a
Yeah.
very tight community. Everybody knows everybody. So it's really you're building relation. That's the first thing. Second thing is that when you start the conversation, question is that usually like one of our contract was a $200 million contract, right? Now, there are people, mining contract can go over $1 billion. Not for us, but I'm saying it can go. So when you say sign the thing, it's a question of what is you are signing. So it's a long haul game. It's a trust and relation building. You try to close something smaller. So you lay out the arc. This is what we're going to do together. It's a 10-year, multi-hundreds million-dollar project. But what is the first smallest piece? And you try to sign that up. And that can be done in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, right? And once you sign the smallest one, I think where probably we could have even done better is that you deliver amazingly well. So really every small and you deliver, you earn trust, you keep going. Eventually that become a $500 million, $200 billion, $1 billion deal. That's really how it goes. So for us also, first one, it probably closed in 6 months, delivered it more. And I think that's the way to do it in our world. It's a closed knit. Because at the end of the day, you are not really doing a biz development. It's a very B2B. You are really building the trust and building the relation.
Sure. That's a great advice for anybody in a lot of different verticals. The same thing would apply: relationship building, trying to get the minimum piece of work that can be closed quickly to get that trust going, to get that relationship going, so that you can build on that. Who's actually authorizing? Who's on the other? Like who from SafeAI is talking to who on the? Where's the relationship?
The customer probably you have mainly three stakeholder, right? So because this is such a big project and not just SafeAI, this kind of thing, such a big project, you do have the executive stakeholder. So you almost need a CEO, CTO's buy-in that yes, company wants to do it. So this is not something which uh, you know accounting software I'm buying, right? It is a company level decision. Is Toyota going to do autonomy? Is Toyota going to do electrification? That is a CEO level decision, right? So you need that buy-in. Then you need the buy-in of the CFOs, the who is going to write the check, which
Makes
is
sense.
basically the business unit. I say CFO, but basically the business unit who is going to pay for the thing. Third, you need the operation, the guys who are going to running the mine. All three has to come and say yes. So if you get one of them no, then your project stuck, right? Because if CEO say no, CEO means that executive level vision is not there. Vision is the easiest one. Obviously, every company wants to do that, so we know that. It's the other two, operation and the CFO. You need to make sure it's very close. So you need to have a counterpart on your side, which is operation heavy, who really convince the operation, yes, we can do it. Their biggest problem is that can you do it? So that's the operation to operation, engineer to engineer talking. Then the CFO's job is to look at it like, is that company even going to make it? If I put 5 million for a even small thing, let's say I give them a POC number one for 5 million, but is that company going to survive another 5 years? They are not questioning so engineering and engineer operation of clear out the part that can they deliver. Then the CFO basically saying, is that company going to make it? Because I don't want to put my 5 million if they don't even make it another 5 year, right? And the CEO basically saying, do I like the company? Do I want to associate my company with that company? So CEO basically making a cultural decision, high level decision. Do I want this company to associate with that? Does Toyota want to work with XYZ?
It all comes down to trust at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the deployment. You said 10% is actually the technology part. 90% is deployment. I want to unpack real quick a little bit of that deployment side of things. At its height, when you were involved, how many customers are we talking about? And maybe talk about a deployment journey at one of the customers, what chaos goes in, what does the actual deployment look like?
Yeah, so we were running pilot project in Australia, one of the gold mine. And that's an amazing. I mean, if one of your audience wants to go, I think this is a great vacation. Go visit a mine. It's a beautiful thing to do. A lot of my friends actually done it. When I told them, they actually beautiful thing to do. So we were running in one of the gold mine, and the mine was literally you are mining in one side, the gold bar was coming in other side. You can see it all in the same place. Actually, literally, you're getting the dart out, and the gold bar is coming out of side. It's an amazing thing to see. So we are deploying in the gold mine in Australia. We were obviously running a local. We had a site in California that was our testing ground. We are running a right 15 minutes, 20 minutes from where we are sitting. We were running a site in US, another site, a quarry place, and we are running in two places in Japan. So kind of run. That's like that was the deployment. A typical deployment kind of happen. You get a vehicle like truck from the customer. Truck is not ours. Truck is owned by the customer. Then we go and retrofit the truck, which is basically putting the sensors and compute and all the thing. Basically, if you think of the OMO truck, they have all the thing going. So we do the same thing. So that takes anywhere from 3 to 4 months or 2 to 3 months, depending on how mature you are. So think about 3 months to get that truck ready on the hardware point of view, right? And then you set a team there, and there is a deployment team where you're putting the initial set of software, but then you have a test area where you test, make sure everything is okay. Then you let it go even in the prototype testing area. So even like it's still working, but it is working the less critical area. So basically in the mine, the critical thing is that when I'm moving the material that is actually gold, versus like when you do the mining, you have to dig it up, but when you dig it up, there is a waste material that you need to move, and there is the actual gold, the actual thing that has a gold, that goes to sour. When you're moving the material that actually has a gold, that is critical because that's what making the money. But when you also move the waste, when you move the waste, that is, you want to move it on time, but waste movement is less critical. So you start from the less critical work, and then you graduate it to more critical work. So that's
And
kind of the
how
broad level.
got it. How's the operator interfacing with the truck? Did you build that interface?
Yes, we did. I mean, that in-house. Yeah, our product name was Zeno. So basically, think about when you order in Uber, you have Uber app, right? So it's exactly the same thing. Now take the Uber app and you're gonna blow up in a big six-screen kind of organization in a way. Now you have an operator sitting there. They are kind of calling the truck, doing this, and kind of managing the whole. So this is a site orchestrating. So basically, let's say it's a 12-hour shift, morning 6 a.m. This guy goes and kind of say, okay, today this 5 truck is going to go there, this 20 truck is going to there, and he's sending assignment to the truck. So instead of telling the human what to do, you're basically sending a message to the truck. It's called assignment, that today you are going to do that dump, this pile, this thing, which is really what anywhere does. I mean, if you think about flights, the same thing, right? They have a traffic control on the flight side. You have the Uber kind of doing their organization, orchestration, because when the thing come, very similar. So we have our kind of dashboard as well where the interaction happens.
And it's just one person controlling the whole fleet?
You have several person. It's a fleet of it's a what we call crew of 6. It's not about who is controlling because nobody's controlling the truck. They are assigning. So it's a managing the site. So that's why there is no remote control or nothing, right? So the truck is not controlled, but just because truck is not controlled, but truck needs to be told what to do. Number of truck can grow, but crew remains the same. So it's a crew idea rather than a how many people managing how many trucks.
Got it. It's very interesting. I can only make assumptions and visualize. I want to learn more about that, but I want to use your time. I'm mindful of we're approaching time, and I want to use it more for more insights on the actual company building side of things as well. So let's switch gears into fundraising and storytelling. From what you have said in past, you've said that storytelling for an investor is paramount. It's actually is important, right? So in the actual fundraising for SafeAI, I want to understand the mindset and thought process of investors. What story unlocked your Series B? How did your fundraising go? Talk a little bit about that for somebody who's trying to build their company and is trying to raise Series A or Series B. They have an idea that they're looking to scale. How does that work?
Yeah, and I think I talked to a lot of founders who are still like a seed probably is the hardest one, like to for initial, because once you get the seed, you probably will get the A. B gets harder. Let me divert a little bit. I have a beautiful statistics, and I love the statistics to kind of start with, right?
Please,
so in US alone, right, the VC community spend about $250 billion a year. So now think about it. If you want to give a 10% return on that money, and your funds, your return timeline is about 8 years, typical 7 to 8 years. So you want to give that 10% return minimum on 8 years. So for your $250 billion investment, you have to give a $1 trillion return every year to get that math lined up. 10 year over 80. Now, for a $1 trillion return a year, how many IPO do you need? You need about 35 to 40 Figma at a good day, not today's Figma, when Figma went public. And you are not doing that. We are not doing that. We are not having that many IPOs, right? What is that means that VC community is not giving the return of the money. So the 250 billion to get invested every year, most of the money lands nowhere, right? It's a very like small class of VCs, and the money is returning outside, but they are not covering the whole $200 billion loss. So VC community at a large is a loss leader in a broad way, because they are not.
There's only a few winners. You're saying
very few winners, but they are not they're covering their own fund, but they are not covering the whole community.
Yeah.
So if I am a big fund and one of my fund goal, I cover my whole portfolio, my whole funding. But one Andreessen, one Sequoia, one benchmark is not covering the whole $250 billion going into the industry. Why I started with that, as a founder, you need to understand that more money is going into idea that is not going anywhere. So the problem is not the money is not the problem, because money is already going into idea that going nowhere.
Yeah.
Right. So that means the problem is not there is a lack of money, not at least in Silicon Valley. Right. If you're in Delhi or Hong Kong or somewhere else is different, but Silicon Valley is not a money problem. Money is there. Your problem, because the reason I said if you set the mindset that way from the founder point in Silicon Valley, then you realize then the problem is you. That means either they don't like you, either they don't like your story. So it is your problem, because there is no lack of money. There is a way too much money sitting here, $250 billion every year. Going to who? So I think that to that point, usually there are three things they don't like, right? When they don't invest. If you think about that way. One is that I don't think if I put money in there will be return. Like I just don't see the return. Maybe the market is not big enough. Maybe you don't have enough done yet. I don't trust your product yet.
Yeah.
Simple, like the way you are not going to invest in a stock that you don't think your money will come back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We make the decision. You don't put money in SNMP because you know those company, because you think SNMP will give you return. So you don't even need to know what they do. You just need to know, can you return my money? And if I don't trust that, that's the number one reason. So one thing that lacks in where I don't like that you don't have a story to tell me that your money is going to come back to me, right? They don't do that. Second thing is that which is the most untold part of the story. They don't just like you. They don't think you are the guy. They don't think you are the horse they want to back. You cannot do nothing about it. You cannot cry about it. You cannot fix your hair. You just need to know that is your 70% of the reason. And I don't know what can you do unless
the trust is not there for.
Not just a trust. I look at you as like you're not the guy, right? Whatever the reason may be, you're just not the guy. I don't want to back you, because at the end of the day, I am backing a horse, hoping money will come back. It sounds bad, but it is and this is a story nobody can tell you, right? And there is other way to say, like a nicer way to say, he doesn't have the founder instinct. He doesn't have, like, those are just a nice way to say.
Yeah.
So that's the second thing. And I think the third thing is that storytelling, right? Where it packed into both that do you have a story, or do you have the compelling future vision that even if I don't see those two, maybe you walk in the door, I don't instantly like you, and I don't see how you're going to make money, but you tell a story that is so compelling. I was like, if this story works out, I really like it. Like Google was the same thing, right? I mean, the Google pitch was such a famous, it's all in public. Like there's like, oh, do you think you can get $1 million revenue? Something like that. He was like, yeah, we'll get 100 million revenue. They're no way going to do that. But this guy, he actually believes, obviously they did even more. I think that compelling storytelling comes there, right? In the face, like I think, and that part, lot of absolute best founders take away that. I mean, Tesla is doing it on a day-to-day basis. Even today, when they're $1 trillion company, they're still telling them, "Oh, now look at the Optimus, look at the Terafab, look at this." Like they're constantly selling story. They have been selling stories since 2005, 2006, 2007, right? And they haven't still stopped. The stock market give them massive amount of multiplier than any other automotive. So, which is no different than you pitching a story to a VC. It's like getting an outsized multiplier from the market is a same phenomena as you telling a VC and you are getting a in a check and because they trust your story. A lot of people don't like Elon, but they're putting still money there because they like their story. So I'm not saying they need to like you, but that is also another reason.
No, beautiful. To summarize, the fundamentals have to be there. The founder, there's that chance side of things where the founder has to be trustable. You have to have a track record of delivering. There's some intangibles there. And then the third piece is the actual storytelling. And can you now that you've laid out the framework, looking back at your fundraising for SafeAI, could you talk a little bit about what worked, how you managed to seed A, B, all of that?
I think for me, first thing is that both autonomy and autonomy for mining and heavy industry, these are very boring story. Like these are very like there is no sexiness to that, right? It's a dull story, but it's also very business story. So this is a very engineer story to tell. I'm not like painting a picture that you will find it very boring. I cannot tell it into a party, but when you go to bunch of finance people and tell them this is happening, they instantly get it. So it's a very engineering dry story to tell. That's the first thing. There is no sexiness, there is no painting a big picture vision. I'm saying
so
that
you have that in mind to choose the right funding partner that would be more statistics driven.
That's right. Second thing is that I am also very, very good what I call founder market fit. I come from that market. I did autonomy. I've been doing it for 20 years. So I think if we have that, not everybody has to, what worked for me, I have that. Even when I have that founder market fit, right? And the third thing is that I'm very grounded. Like I'm grounded in a sense. One of the things worked for us is that we are very grounded on the money. We are saying we are doing mining because mining operator gets $500,000. If I can save the money there, I get a return. So it's a very number driven. That worked for us because our industry is number driven, right? If you're trying to do it is not everybody's story. So I think for us, story is that very number driven. And obviously, as an engineer, number-driven story is easier to tell for us. I mean, there are other people are doing that is not number-driven. That is a very vision-driven.
Got it. And how did you make that connection for your backer that funded you? How did that relationship? Was it the same funder that you had for your company?
You had different. I mean, we probably had about 20 so total investor into our.
Wow.
And they are all kind of size, right? I had an individual check from 75K all the way up to $1 billion institutional fund. Pretty much the breadth was pretty quite a bit. Yeah.
What percentage of your time roughly was focused purely on fundraising?
A lot more than you like, but I enjoy the process. I'll tell you this story. Somebody texted how much you're in for, answer like text how much you're in for. The answer came 6. That's a $6 billion raise within a 7 second. And that is basically Elon texted Anderson and it was public. Again, I'm not giving any story that's not public.
Yeah.
When you was buying Twitter. So part of that he was texting Anderson like how much you're in for. He said 6. You're like, okay, 6 it is. Then he texted Larry Ellison how much you're in for. He was like, how much you say? You're like, you can do 2, but I will say 4. So that was the next text. So he pretty much raised $10 billion in probably 115 seconds. That is the statistics you are running for. So fundraising is not about how much time you spend. You should be measured that the quantum of dollar you raised and the least amount of time you spend. That is your metric. A lot of founders mix it. That's like, I had this many coffee, this many discussion, this guy like me, that guy. You're measuring the last statistics. Now I spend a lot of time, but I like it. I like the process. One of the things people don't really intuitively always appreciate it that the investor, the VC class in Silicon Valley is absolutely the smartest and the brightest people. I'm not saying all of them, but they are, I mean, you will be blown away by their background. They are a bunch of physicists, PhD, MIT, this, that. I've been working that. So you learn so much from them.
Got it. So it helps you with your leadership, for your business, building, hiring, all of those.
That's
So
right.
it
That's
becomes
right.
almost a mentorship as
Absolutely.
you're got it. Let so much to talk about there too. I think I'm gonna need another conversation with you. I'm looking at the time and we're approaching time soon. I want to switch gears to your sale to Pronto, your exit story. What initiated that? Did you have that always in your mind that you're going to exit at some point? Want to understand that side of things.
I wanted to go IPO. That was my, I think this is
Okay.
a big idea. We needed another, I would say 40, $50 million before break even. And we were getting couple of M&A offer. And then basically you look at the different offer and you say, which one is good for the dollars and cents, right? As simple as that. But
Yeah.
my original intention, like I feel like I have unfinished business because autonomy is a IPO business. Autonomy is a real company. Autonomy is not a something you sell. Like I think all of us we sell, like whether even Cruise or Cruise sold. It's a good outcome, but that's not what Kyle wanted to do, right? Zeus sold, but Zeus that's not what the Zeus wanted to do. They wanted to keep going. They just didn't have cash enough to keep going, and then Amazon came along, and I said, okay, at least that do that. So I don't think any autonomy company that sold they wanted to sell. I mean, at least all the founder I talked to embarked who didn't want it to sell. I didn't want it to sell. I think we sold because we needed more cash. I think autonomy nobody wants to sell because we all know this is a 10, 20, 30, $40 billion IPO company. These are not a small idea.
Yeah. So walk through. Thanks for the context. Yeah. So walk through the deal flow, the first conversation, the diligence, and then actual closing. What surprised you? What did you learn? How did that process go?
So our process was not straightforward like that. We were getting it, and there was like a active. So this is not like a typical bank-driven process because so our process was not like proper the way a bank-driven process. Okay, I go out, I solicit things, which I have seen also, but that was not safe here.
Okay. Can you elaborate? What was?
I think it was coming. As I said, it was coming.
Yeah.
And then we like, okay, which one is the dollars and cents more? Let's go with that. So it's
So
a,
you
and they all know us. They didn't come to us because they all know us. They wanted to buy us. They know us very intimately. So it is not the process of okay, let me diligence on the company because obviously Pronto is our competitor. So they know us from day one and they wanted to buy us. Like again, there's a lot of backstories, right? This is not they're our competitors. So we know
yeah.
each other all. Even the other company that wanted to buy us, they are also our competitor. So this yeah.
How was it emotionally for you?
I think for me, I would say, as I said, my one word is that it's unfinished business. Because what I started off, right, that we want to make right now less than 4% of the vehicle in the heavy industry is autonomous, right? Even I say 4,000 is not a big number among all the vehicle out there. So I want to do 50%, 60% of that vehicle to be autonomous. And we are not there yet. So I would call it's unfinished business. That's okay. I mean, it takes time, right? Tesla is still doing it. Waymo is still doing it. That's also I feel like I'm not done with it yet. So it's unfinished business. I think the industry is going to do that. You mentioned Bedrock. Now Bedrock is doing the one thing and there'll be more player come. I think we have a lot more work to do to get to that 50, 60, 70, 80% of the machine are all autonomous.
So your unfinished business, are you going to continue with Atoms?
I will not continue. So basically, what is autonomy? And we probably didn't get that. We can do it in a part two. The future
Yeah.
of autonomy, what we all doing, the self-driving, we call it a physical AI. So if you think about what physical AI is, as I mentioned, you put AI brain into a metal body, so to speak. And the first metal body you put AI brain is the car, right?
Yeah.
That big way, right? So I think that we all have done that. So we are just going to progress with that, with the physical AI. The difference was that last time we put the brain, only the eye, which is perception, was AI. Rest of them was all hand coded. This time the whole brain is AI. That's the difference, and that's a big difference, right? This is what Jensen want to talk about end-to-end deep learning or end-to-end agentic AI. Obviously, that's what right. So I think all will be working on that. Now, I didn't join at them, but I think we will all work on that direction.
So what I'm hearing is you're thinking about launching another company within the same autonomy space. Is that
Similar,
true?
as I said, this time we'll call it a physical AI. instead of calling it autonomy. But yes, the answer is yes. And also, this is
And
unfinished for the whole industry, though, not just for, because
yeah,
as I said, only 4%. I don't know what car do you drive. Less than 1% US population still have ever experienced a autonomous vehicle.
yeah,
Which is a very, you think
right.
like you live in Silicon Valley, you think
Yeah,
autonomy and self-driving and Tesla is everywhere. Less than 1% US population have experienced, let alone driven, regular basis.
yeah. It's very common for us, but taken US as a whole and world as a whole, yeah, understood. Okay. So let me switch gears. Like you said, there's so much opportunity, so much growth happening. A lot of the junior engineers, students, they're coming into this space. They want to get involved. And that's what I'm getting constantly hit up by individuals that want to get involved in either autonomy or physical AI, robotics. Folks are trying to break into this. If I'm a new grad, a new engineer trying to break into the autonomy space, what should I actually focus on, study, and work on?
I think obviously right now, I mean, I think we can talk about it maybe at length. I mean, obviously the new grad job is a kind of weird market right now, right?
Mm,
We can talk more
yeah.
detail on that. But just from the lens of physical AI coming into the robotics and AI, kind of what we are doing, I would say there are three area. If you can stand out in one of the area, because we are constantly looking for people. We actually, if you look at the story from our side, we don't find enough good people. So actually the problem is both sides, right? Not just me, but as I said, a bunch of CEO friends, they're all same problem. They can't find enough good people. We all like to hire out of grad, because they have lot to contribute. They know things sometimes we don't know. They bring new ideas. So we actually want to do it. So I think if you either you stand out even today still with all the vibe coding and all, if you can show that you understand software, I think that's a phenomenal thing. Second thing is that because it's a hardware, you have an intimate hardware knowledge or you have a love for it, you can work with your hand, right? You actually have a mechanical design sense, and that is actually missing in our world. Like we barely find people who are good at hardware. I remember at
Mm,
SafeAI there was a guy who was, I'll not give the name, but he was like in the second year that time in a UC Berkeley undergrad. He was very good with like I remember he was like building brackets and all, I thought 3D printing machine and all. We looked at it, I was like, and that was not even his job. He was doing something else as the intern.
mm,
I was like, wow. So like looking at it, I was like, this guy had a knack for mechanical thing. He did an intern at SafeAI. He loved it. Obviously, after he graduated, he's working at SpaceX, doing amazing. And the third one is obvious. If you are actually good at AI, if you can get to the math of the AI, that is absolute rare. In the problem with AI, so it doesn't sound good, but I think most of the people who say, "Oh, I've been doing AI for a long time," I was like, the last statement is the problem. If you're doing for a long time, then you're not doing the right AI, because the AI is getting done by the absolute, like the guys who are graduating now, right? Because the math is not
right.
in what we have done, 20 years ago, And obviously for people like us, we're still going to hold on to our, because that's all we know. But reality is that that's not the math getting applied today. And we don't know this math. So if you actually know the math of the AI, you will stand out immediately.
Got it. So what I'm hearing is be multidisciplinary. Don't just be focused on, maybe in past it worked to be just a software engineer and you were good at that. How does that apply to the product that you're working on?
And I think if
How's
you're
that?
good, if you actually can stand out just in one of them, you're good to go. I mean, if you're a undergrad, second year, or going to school, get good at one of them.
How about personality side of things, soft skill,
A soft skill, I
likability?
kind of mentioned that you need to work with a lot of people. So I think kind of keeping a calmer outlook, right? That okay, I'm working with a lot of things. Another feel I think a lot of junior people don't understand. Sometimes they question in a good way, but also there are like sometimes you don't know what you don't know. Like sometimes why that this guy is doing that, right? 3, 4 layer up. Why the CEO is doing that? There might be things that you don't know. So I'm not saying he's always right or she's
Yeah,
always right, but have that on the back of my mind. Maybe I am lacking information, or maybe I'm
humbleness.
right. Yeah, it's not like you are always wrong. I mean, a lot of time they are right. They are actually right. So it's not like you
Mm,
throw away your idea, but you also should have that idea that sometimes I don't know everything. So I think some of the time, like lack of information, having that humbleness is very helpful.
makes sense. And a lot of the founders, the greats, right? Zuckerberg, all of these guys, they launch their companies even before finishing college, right? What would you say? What is, and I know this question may not make sense, but I want to pull your perspective on this. What makes sense? Do you think young graduates and early career folks, should they go work for a large company first, or should they back themselves and go just launch your startup?
My answer is the right answer, which is I don't know. Right? That's the right answer I can give you. But the broadly, I'm saying you have to also understand this thing as much as it's a career. I think the difference between a job versus a Zuckerberg is that one is a career. We all have to work, right? We don't all have to be or can be or should be Zuckerberg. Like, if you look at the tennis, I don't know if you played tennis on your childhood. We all play tennis. I mean, I did not, but we kind of, US probably everybody play tennis, but we are all not going to end up being Nadal or Federer, right? And which is basically, because you might never be as good as Nadal and Federer. If you are one of them, you will do whatever you do and you will be one of them. A lot of founders have to understand that founding a company, becoming Zuckerberg is not a career. Jeff Zuckerberg is a different animal, right? Elon is a different animal. Wilson is a different animal. It's not like they followed a path. They are who they are.
That does make sense. That don't be delusional. Be rooted in reality and understand what you're good at. And you would know if these guys knew, right? Like Steve Jobs, all of these guys, they knew what they were going to be. So makes sense. So much to talk about, but I think I'm overextending my welcome with you. I want to, of course, have another conversation. There's all of these different areas. I think I'm learning a lot, and this is going to be really valuable for a founder, for a young grad, for somebody building a company, somebody trying to understand robotics and just business overall of corporate America, leadership, all of those things. It's been wonderful. Before I let you go, I want to do what we've been doing at Robot Builders Club, which is a lightning round, extract even more knowledge and wisdom out of you, Bibhrajit, as we let you drop off. I'm going to throw a whole bunch of questions at you really, really fast. Make them as brief as you can. What's the most overrated buzzword in AI right now?
I don't know buzzword. I would say the AI bubble.
Most underrated company in robotics in your experience?
I would not say underrated, but one company probably a lot of people still don't know is called Applied Intuition. They are doing amazing work, but still not as popular, as famous like Figure. Everybody knows Figure, so I'll say Applied Intuition. And I know them very well. It's an amazing, amazing company.
I know a few people that work there. Yeah, definitely. Great answer. One mistake every first-time founder makes?
I don't know. They make so many mistakes. I made so many mistakes. One mistake then.
The biggest mistake?
I think maybe like they feel like this is their last one. That's probably the last. Most of the.
Yeah, it's a bug that you can't get rid of, huh?
This is their last one. Yeah.
Build versus raise. What matters more early on?
I mean, it depends on what you build. But if it one answer, I would say.
Hardest lesson from SafeAI in one sentence?
Team building.
That's the human side of things, right? Toughest in any endeavor. One metric every robotics startup should track.
How much money customers are paying you.
Yeah, you don't have a business without it. Best advice that you got that you ignored?
That's a hard one. Yeah. I think I would say the same thing. I would say a lot of people told me about the team side of it. I didn't pay enough attention to that. A lot of founders, very, very experienced founder told me about the focus on the team. I didn't do enough good job.
And the best advice you got that you actually followed?
I think that is on the customer side. Like really embed, like pretty much a lot of people told me like embed with customer. I think that actually I did follow.
Which is why you became successful and did all of, did what you did. One thing in your life you want a robot to help you with?
I mean, it already does. My driving is all, my 97% of my driving is all autonomous. I'm already living in the future.
Something in the house? You don't want them to fold your laundry, do your...
My answer is going to be bad answer because I don't do any of them today right now anyway. So I'm one of the most laziest guy. I don't do almost my amount of physical work I do is so minimal. I don't know which one I like.
You're not feeling the pain.
I do very little physical work. I go to gym, but that's not what you were saying.
Understood. One thing you think humans do better than robots, hands down?
Let me give you a longer answer onto that. I think the problem is that people mistaken what human is. This is whole idea the robot is taking over human and all the thing. Yes, they can drive, they can cook, they can do all the things. When we are driving, when we drive, we just don't drive. We drive, we think about our happened 5 minutes ago. We are thinking about our future decision. We are pumping the blood in our body. We are digesting our food. We are taking the air in, keeping our. I think this idea that human does driving, human does accounting, human does doctor, and that's all human is. That's absolute narrow thinking what a human is. So I think this is a not that robot can do better than us or we can do better. We do things robots are nowhere close. Let robot digest and pump blood and do the blood and think about what's going on and drive at the same time. The answer is that it is not a robot problem, it's our narrow thinking what human is. So I think robot is nowhere close to a human anywhere. We clean our whole time system in 8 hours of our sleep. So I think the idea is that robot is gonna do what human does. It's absolute people understanding what a human is. And that's a human problem. That's not a robot problem.
So in essence, everything that a human does, essentially, it's not even a comparison.
It's not like when did the last time the robot give a birth of a human being? Like when did it? I mean, have you know what complicated it takes to giving a birth of a human?
I've seen robots are building other robots, right? So
that's not a human being. That's not a human being.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense. Last question for you before we let you go. You get into a time machine, you go to 20,050. You've come back. What does the future hold? What do you see?
I think 50 years from now, all our biostatistics will be instantly available to us all the time on our fingertip. And if you go maybe 100 years down the line, we don't even need to know because they are going to get fixed before the things are problem. I think bio-wise, we are absolutely acting like a prehistoric human being, the things we do today. So I think that's one of my thing. I clearly see that the way we walk around and do our medical thing, 100 years from, they're like, what was wrong with these guys? They didn't even know because it's insane. Our body is the most important thing and we have no clue.
Well, you got the Aura, Apple Watch, you're
like
getting.
That's getting there. But I'm saying it will be like instant. Like we should just be inside fixing things and it should be on our fingertip. It will come.
Got it. So you're essentially, you see a positive future where we are increasing longevity. We are getting more informed on the state of our health, our bodies, and we're going to look back and go, why didn't we do this 10, 20, 30 years earlier, right?
Yeah, no, I'm very positive. I mean, I don't think when I look at number, how can anybody not be positive? Like last 200 years of human history, everything got better. Everything got better. Not a single parameter you can see got bad. It's just that we don't look at 200 years. We say, okay, yesterday what happened and what happened today and my news is saying and we get diluted. No, I mean, humanity has been doing amazing and will continue to do amazing. We haven't, unless there is a big war or we completely blow each other up, I think we will continue to grow. There is no stopping of this.
Yeah, which is a key message I think a lot of times we forget. Talking to movers and shakers like yourself and other founders and other leaders, that's a theme that keeps coming up. You guys are positive about what the future holds. I think we get a lot of news and keep messaging coming from the media, and people have this doom and gloom sense of things. But I think what the leaders such as yourself and others are saying, we are moving in the right direction. If you look at the historic trend and in the future, humanity is headed in the right direction. There would be ups and downs, but yeah.
Those conversation, human team conversation is happening in a Starbucks when they are drinking the Frappuccino. What they don't understand that you don't get to drink a Frappuccino in a Starbucks in a humanity who is going down. So I think even the people who are complaining about gloom and doom are literally doing that on a Starbucks with a Frappuccino. That means actually it's not a gloom and doom.
Yeah. Now I want a cappuccino. You and I should get a cappuccino at some point. We're not that far away.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's stop recording and get a cappuccino. I appreciate it, Bibhrajit. It's been a pleasure. It's been wonderful. I learned so much. This has been amazing.
One thing, maybe just to close in, you and me talked about, I think anybody, I think any audience, as I said, we cannot go in the deep, want to have a kind of one-on-one session, maybe we can kind of promote that later, that they can put a comments and, we can do a 1 hour session with maybe 3 people so that we can put it.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think we do need a second conversation, an even more targeted conversation, and we're position it as we'll get people's input. I'll open it up on the limited reach I have, and maybe you ask with the wider reach that you have, get people's input, and then we address what the market is looking for, answer the pain points that our future customers are feeling, right?
That's right.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It has been an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you.
Mhm.